If there's one thing to know about me, it's that I live one life motto quite well. And that one is that laughter is the cheapest therapy you ever get. So, in that note, it is always good to let it in. I'm Juan Collado Díaz, and this is Político. Hello, listeners, and welcome once again to another episode of Político. I'm your host, Juan Collado Diaz, and happy 2026. This is the first episode of this year, and we are starting with nothing more than comedy because we cannot begin a year of politics with politics. So, this interview is fully non political for the reason that I wanted to bring some good and great laughter to this podcast. So, for once, let me introduce you to Tony Viagra. Tony is a lawyer, a comedian, and an Air Force veteran. And with that, Tony, I don't want to take too much of me telling your biography and your description, but do you mind telling us a little bit about who you are and what got you into comedy?
Well, great to be here, Juan. Congratulations on your wedding. I tried that once. It didn't go well.
Thank you so much. I hope mine does last longer and goes
Okay.
well.
I married Hitler's daughter. It wasn't fun.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm pretty sure that mine is there. It's pretty good as of right now. Well, let's hope.
Yeah, I'm a stand-up comedian. I know it's hard to believe, but I'm a stand-up comedian, and I'm also an attorney. Uh, and what else? I'm honorably discharged, disabled Air Force veteran, and I've that's who I am in a nutshell. And stand-up comedy is my passion. I've, believe it or not, performed all over the country. I opened for Doug Stanhope like six or 7 years ago. I opened for Doug Stanhope. That was probably the peak of my comedy career at this point. Let's see. And I have many interests, besides stand-up comedy. Now I have many interests. I'm a vegetarian for many years, and I'm a animal rights nut and a vegetarian and a yoga freak and a gym rat. Other than that, a really boring guy. That's why
That sounds actually pretty fun to me. I don't know. Well, I see, and you mentioned this earlier, but you're an attorney and
I
a
am.
stand-up comedian. Like,
I
how does that work together as an attorney, but also a stand-up comedian? Like, how do you?
Well, yeah, I know. Am I allowed to drop F bombs on here or not?
You're welcome to say as much as you please.
Okay, well, many people say, "How can you be an attorney and stand-up comedian?" Well, it's easy. It's easy, But being an attorney is not conducive to being a stand-up comedian. So I kind of held my comedy career back, and it was. I'm still an attorney, but I'm not working. Well, I'm not working for the government anymore. And but when I was kept, under wraps that I'm a stand-up comedian. Generally, attorneys as a group, are really sociopathic, sick people with no sense of humor. So, but I got one gig where someone wheeled on me that, hey, he's a stand-up comedian, and they look at some of my stuff on YouTube, and all of a sudden they got a big hurt up their ass, and then I got to come through all these hoops now to have permission to do stand-up, and it was really fucked up. But I've been so I guess. I guess I'm the exception. I took the long, hard road to law school. I was one of these silver spoon farts that go right from college to law school. Many times their parents is an attorney or just wealthy family. I didn't go that route. I went the blue collar, long, hard road to law school route. But the so, but I've always loved stand-up comedy. I mean, I've always loved it. I always aspired to be a stand-up comedian. I know it's like an evolution. I mean, since I was watching the great comedians on the Ed Sullivan Show as a kid, I fell in love with several of those comedians, some really great comedians on that show back in the 60s. And of course, they're all dead. But, that's what happens. So I just want to, and then it was in the Air Force that I think I really got the bug to be a stand-up comedian. It's just like some people, step into like when they're 18, and that's great if you have that opportunity. I didn't have that opportunity. I was so upset with getting my education, my career. I went for years. I went to graduate school, right? Got my MBA, right? I worked. I went to law school, right? Got my JD, and it was hard to fit stand-up comedy in there. But when I got done with that, I started working started working writing material, and the biggest challenge back then in central Pennsylvania was finding a venue to do stand-up. It was really tough because there were no open mics. The only comedy club around there, which really sucks, but they didn't have any open mic either. And I found a place that has open mic for music and poetry, and so I figured I'm not a poet, I'm not a musician, but maybe I can fit in here. So that's when I started doing stand-up, and then it just grew and grew and grew, and I kept doing it and kept hustling, and that's how I got to open for Stanhope by being hustling and being a pain in his ass. That's how you have to be open for him, so being a comedian, the longer you do it, hopefully the better you get, because that's what people say. Well, what's the secret of being a stand-up comedian? There's no secret. It's simple. The secret is do it and keep doing it. That's the secret. You don't need any courses or any bullshit. Just do it. Find an open mic somewhere. Just start doing it. Memorize your material. Don't go on stage and start reading fucking notes or reading your fucking phone, because that's very amateur. It's very bad. So I'd start off with the light track, being a pro. Go in there, have the shit memorized in your head. Even if it's 2 minutes, have it in your head. Just do it. When people start looking at their phone or their notes, that's just it's so bad, so amateur. I've never done that. I never will do it. And now I probably have close to 60 minutes of bullshit stuck in my head now. And but I gotta hustle. The problem is hustling to find gigs, and I haven't been hustling as much as I should. I did a show in Pennsylvania in end of October. I've done their shows before. They went really well because their crowd is my crowd. And so that was fun. It was a great night and a good set. I need more nights like that. Right now I'm in the Jacksonville, Florida area, where the comedy scene here kind of sucks around Jacksonville. It sucks big time. But I've been hustling, a little bit around Florida. The guy who was booking me in Daytona Beach, he kind of disappeared from the landscape. I don't know what happened to him, but it's a rough business. It's a crazy business. You come across a lot of crazy characters in this business. You just roll the punches, and it's all about respect. I respect them. You respect me. You book me. You pay me, and I do a background check. Everything's good.
No, yeah, absolutely. And you said it right. In this economy, we have to do many things. And I see you're a man of many traits. Like you said, you retired Air Force veteran. So let's start with that. Thank you so much for your service. That's huge. And then you're doing comedy, an attorney. That's a lot, and that's amazing. Being able to do all that stuff as one person. So I will say you definitely get busy, and that's pretty cool. You also mentioned that you are an animals rights activist, and you have adopted and rescued some animals, and you have satyrs and golden retrievers. So you mind sharing a little bit more about your pets with me and how the story of that?
Well, yeah, I love big dogs. It's crazy how much I love them, and I've rescued quite a few, and they love me. I love them. And in fact, I rescued a 10-year-old golden retriever back in 1996. Same with Murphy Chow. He'd been a sing-eye dog, actually a leader dog who got too old. He couldn't do the work anymore, couldn't get up in the buses. So I was very happy to adopt Murphy, rescue Murphy, whatever. And it took us about 10 minutes to bond. And he's the greatest guy I've ever been around. Brilliant, just brilliant. And we were together 21 months, and he got a malignant gnome in the top of his throat. And we battled that for from February to May, and we took him to a human cancer center at night, took him in at night where we get radiation, and we fought the war and as best as we could. And eventually cancer came back in May of 98, and we went to I had a great vet at the time, and she said, "It's back, there's nothing we can do." I said, "Well, I'm not putting him down because it's a trust thing." And so she made a hospice in her back room for him, and Murphy was in there 3 days, and he's in a coma the last day, and I sit next to him with him, and he was fighting it in the coma, and I just leaned down and I said, "Murphy, I'll be fine. You can go now." And he left. So that's my Murphy story. Well, that's Murphy Joe's story. And the bottom line, when I first got Murphy, I told him, I said, "Murphy, I'll never violate your trust. And I'll go to my grave knowing I never violated Murphy's trust." He died with dignity on his own terms with me guarding him. And he was a great leader dog all his life. And then he was a blind lady's rock. And at the end, I was his rock. So it's all good.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you, so, with that and the dog rescue stuff, do you think in part your service in the military had something to do, with your love for animals and
No,
like your
no,
no?
no.
No.
I've always loved dogs. It's just who I am. And then just be able to get a career and, getting income, a position where I could start rescuing dogs. And Murphy's story, there's a really crazy part to that story. That Murphy and I were living with my former girlfriend at the time, and for whatever reason, she flipped out and decided to throw Murphy and me out of her house when he was dying of cancer, which he did. Murphy and I, we found a new apartment, an apartment that would accept a 100-pound golden retriever. Murphy and I moved there, and we were there about 2 weeks, and that's when his cancer came back. But through all that, his care was never neglected. And the people at the cancer center told me how impressed they were with the care I was giving Murphy for his radiation burns. So it's a crazy story, and but it's true.
Yeah, and so I wanted to go over a little bit on your service, if you don't mind talking about your time in the service.
Yeah,
And I wanted to see how does all that your service in the armed forces, how
yeah.
does that connect with your like comedy background, and like when you do comedy, does any of that connect with each other? Do you use some of those your times in the service to tell
Oh no, no, no. I think the military and law school. They're good training to be a comedian. They really are. And I was in the Air Force time. There's a movie came out, a very popular movie called Caddyshack, and Rodney Dangerfield was red hot at the time, and we were just so joking, on that movie, and Rodney Dangerfield, and he was so popular. His character was so popular at the time, and that was a positive influence. But to be a stand-up comedian is an evolution, unless like Pauly Shore, his mom owned the comedy store in L.A. Well, that's different, okay? But I didn't. So for me, it was an evolution. Get through the attorney bullshit to where I had the freedom to do all the stand-up comedy I wanted to do, and didn't give a fuck if anybody was offended. I didn't care. They couldn't fire me. So, but I mean, the military's a positive influence on stand-up. And I mean, I love the Air Force, even though it didn't go well for me in terms of health problems. But I love the Air Force because if I hadn't been in the Air Force, I wouldn't be an attorney now. And I probably wouldn't be a stand-up comedian either. So I love the Air Force, and I wish I was still in the Air Force.
So I know you have multiple characters. When you do your stand-up comedy,
Yes,
you have some
yes.
characters. Have any of those characters been like inspired by your previous time in the service or your attorney time, or are they just characters you made just specifically as a comedian?
Well, they're just characters I came up with. I used to be a long distance road biker, the pedal type, and I used to go out every Saturday and ride like 40 to 60 miles every Saturday. And when you're running solo, that's like a 4-hour meditation. And one day I was riding out in the country, and I had an idea for this character, thinking Tony Viagra. I thought, yeah, that's funny. I'm gonna run with that character. And then I had ideas for what he would wear and how he would dress. Tony Viagra's are going to be a schmuck. Obviously, he has to get laughs. And so I came up with the bow tie and the stupid sport coat and the crazy glasses and the stupid hat. So I just created that character. It was like a meditation on a bike ride one day. I just thought of that character, and then I thought of other characters after Tony. And I've been doing Tony for years now. And I guess my grandfather was a real honest to goodness cowboy when he was a young guy out in Texas and Oklahoma. And that probably inspired me, or maybe, to create another character called Cowboy Rusty Floorboard, which I enjoy doing him too, and hoping maybe that'll gain a little more traction in Florida, because maybe this is more cowboy country down here. I don't know. I hope so. Really, all my time has been invested in Tony Viagra, and I guess we got to keep doing Tony. If people don't like Tony, they can kiss my ass. It's not like it's going to break me.
So Tony is the most popular character, I'm assuming, because it's the
Oh,
one.
yeah. Station. I said, Tony Viagra.
I won't lie to you. I was a little curious. Is Tony Viagra like a real name or a character? When I was searching it up, and I heard the name, and I was also laughing myself. At the beginning, I was like, "Is this a troll, or is it a real So, and then when we kept emailing each other, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is funny!" Like he's a comedian and the name Tony Viagra. So I was like, this is hilarious. This is gonna be a good like episode to talk because Tony Viagra sounds like a very funny character to me. So I can, I'm imagining everybody else who listens to Tony Viagra and the character definitely get a laugh out of it too.
Well, that's my heroine is getting laughs. That's my heroine. Getting on stage and getting laughs. That's what it's all about. And like that show in PA got a lot of laughs back in October. And when you get that, that's a high. That's a real high when you get that. And when I opened for Stanhope 6 years ago, that's a big crowd, like 600 people. I got a lot of laughs. I was high for like 3 days after that, just from that whole experience that night.
Yeah, and you told me so. Outside of stand-up comedy, you also share a little bit about your animals rights activism, but you also have shared that you do a little bit of gym and you're a yoga freak.
I'm a gym rat. I go almost every day to the gym. I'm obsessed with the gym. It's my addiction, and I've been doing yoga for 50.
So how do you keep? Because again, I said it earlier. You're a man of many traits. So how do you keep all this together? To where you keep a schedule steady to do all this. How does that work? Like, in this crazy time where everything is so like left and right, like all crazy every day.
Well, that's a great question. I have a yoga set I do every morning when I wake up. My own set. I have a great yoga teacher. I went to her classes for years, and she moved to New Mexico, and now I'm in Florida, but she's still my teacher. She's still a great friend, a great lady, and she'll always be my teacher, but I do my own set, and I don't go to any classes or anything like that. I did a virtual class with her earlier last year, which was great. And that's the first time I've been in with her for a long time in class. It was really cool because most of the students in the class were from Egypt. It's a virtual class. It was really cool. It's like a world class. It was very cool to be with all these students from Egypt while here. And, it's a big planet out there. So how do I? So I go to the gym usually. Do stuff I have to do in the afternoon. I'm a night owl. I am a night owl, which I need to get more sleep. I know that, but I love being a night owl. And I'll practice my stand-up. Sometimes when I'm up late, I'll just sit there and practice my stand-up because you can never practice your stand-up enough. And what else? I mean, the days are, so I have busy days, and the time is flying by like lightning. The last year, 25 flew by in a flash, and my life is flying by in a flash. But it's who I am. It's who I am. And yes, I'm a vegetarian, and animal rights. Not yes, I am. It's who I am. I don't try to convert others. Whatever they eat or do, that's cool. This is who I am. Just respect me.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you do all this, you mentioned you have both of your dogs, and so have you like work in the community with other activist communities to like do dog rescue, or do you encourage people to like rescue puppies and stuff like that? Do you like through your characters or even through your activism work, like or your social media work?
Well, what I've done is I have rescued several dogs myself, and I rescued some great English setters from an English setter rescue organization. Also, one was just from a lady in Kentucky who shows English setters and couldn't show this English setter anymore because his teeth got crooked. And I rescued him, and he was the greatest English setter I've ever known, Jake. And I rescued them. Unfortunately, all my rescues passed away. They ripped my heart out. And now I got to work on getting another rescue so we can rescue each other. I'm working on it. But as far as activism, I mean, my activism is by rescuing. That's my activism. And I'm not looking for any publicity. I'm just looking for doing the right thing for me, because so I can live with me, And yeah, I encourage.
And so is Murphy's rescue? And that's the one you sent me the photos of.
The golden retriever, and then probably the English setter pictures are probably from Buddy, my last rescue. He was rescued from North Carolina. They rescued him from a kill shelter, poor guy. And I'm glad he came to my house. He's great. And we were together a long time, and he got lung cancer. And I lost him a couple of years ago. And of course, that really ripped my heart out because we were very connected, Murphy and I. I mean, Buddy and I were very connected. I mean, all my rescues and I were very connected, mega connected. Because I'm an animal person. My attraction with dogs is far better than with women. I can tell you that.
So yeah, and for people listening at home and they want to I'm gonna also share the photos of the puppies we're talking about on our show notes. So anybody who wants to see it, you can go to politicalpod.com and you'll see like that with a lot of other stuff and Tony's socials and all that for sure. But then I wanted to also ask you, Tony, a little bit of we talked a lot about your career, and we talked a lot about your stand-up comedy, but we didn't talk about how it started and what has inspired you and continue inspiring you to stay, and doing comedy in such a dark time, because we are in a time, where everything is dark, and everything you can do to bring a smile to people is like great. What inspired you and brought you through this career to continue, and what still inspiring you today to still do it?
Well, part of my inspiration is that I love my passion is performing stand-up. Is my passion. Getting on stage live and performing is just my passion. I just love it so much. And getting laughs is such a high. And so I plan on doing it because I love doing it. I'm going to do it until I croak and maybe afterwards. And like you said, right now it's really important to do stand-up that makes people laugh, because it's needed more than ever right now. So that's the motivation to get out and do it and hustle and get gigs. And so it's my passion. And, I'm always, as a comedian, when you keep practicing, keep working, eventually you keep changing as a comedian. I write all my own material, and you keep changing, you change your material, you change your delivery, you keep changing. It's impossible not to change. It's like an evolution. Like when, like Ben, used to walk bent over, now he's walking upright. It's kind of like that, And so, but it's my passion. Yes, I agree. These are dark times, and it makes comedy more important than ever.
Yeah, making everybody just have a smile and a laughter is definitely a way to bring people together. As we said it many times already, but in this dark times, it's an exit for many of us to just see someone just doing some stand-up comedy, making us laugh, and getting a little bit of like that darkness out of us with that laughter.
Right.
Even though you said it earlier, like I love some dark comedy every now and then. My favorite kind of comedy is just some dark humor. I'm 100% there, but like it still brings that laughter out of me, and it still makes me so happy, and like it makes me laugh to just see when people make jokes. And I don't go to a lot of shows because I sadly don't have enough of the time in my life, but when I have the time, I love just to like listen to comedians and see the stuff. And when I got your email and I saw a lot of your work, I was like, wow, it's amazing. Your comedy is actually good. So that makes me
thank you.
And
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, watching is definitely it's exciting to see them people still have this sense of to do comedy in this time, and have the passion for it and keep going.
And like, I'm not your typical comedian. Like, I'm different. I'm artistic because I like to create characters. I mean, that's not the norm. That's not many do. I like to create characters. I like to do these characters, and sometimes I'll even perform as myself, which is kind of a drag, but I've done that too. But I'm not your typical comedian. And my inspiration, well, the thing that really energized my counter is my divorce. And I do a lot of material about my fucked up marriage. I do a lot of material about that. And that's an endless stream of material for myself. That wasn't a new shit from my marriage. Thank God she's gone 15 years now. And, but it's still a source of, and a lot of other material about me, self-depreciating about me. I like doing that too. So, and so like, those are probably my main two things of my stand-up. But, like some comedians say, and I say, like, if something happens to you, something bad, like, take it on stage. Take it on stage, because that's the best psychotherapy. Take it on stage. It's true. Take it on stage. And that's what I do. I take it on stage. Then it comes across as authentic too, because it is. It's authentic. It's authentic bullshit. How fucked up my life is.
I think like America right now, we are our best and our own characters. I don't know if you're familiar with the show South Park, but
of course.
South Park is like a funny comedic documentary of us in America right now, and it walks us through life, and it's like, this is really happening, and you just see it because you don't think about it, but it's happening in real life. It's always I always say, like, it's good comedy. It's good when you bring it about, like, you make it about you and what's happening in your life. Yeah. Not everybody gets it, but then when they see, like, oh, this is happening, but this is how, like, you make it funny. It's like, okay, maybe I have a bad time, but I can make the fun out of it. I can make the best out of it, and that's really big for us, especially for us humans that are going through so much right now, and to definitely keep our souls alive and out there for sure.
I know, because divorce was horrible. I was blindsided with it. It was like getting smashed in the head with a baseball bat, and it was like a really rotten year. But eventually, I you get through it, and then I started writing material based on it. And I turned a negative into a positive, and you know, and to Hitler's daughter in 15 years now. I haven't seen her talk to her 15 years. I mean, I have no idea where she is. She might even be dead for all I know. Wishful thinking, but I don't know.
Well, there you go. So I wanted to, in closing, I wanted to ask you this last question, and it is: if people want to find more about you, your shows and where you're gonna be next, how can people find you out?
Well, the first thing I want to do is I want people to go on my YouTube channel, subscribe, and look at my videos. You might find something funny, you might find some of them offensive, but look at them. Of course, I'm on Facebook. When I have a show with a poster, I'll post it on Facebook so you can see where I'm going to be. And Facebook being how fucked up Facebook is. My name, Viagra, they added an extra A for some unknown reason to Viagra. So if you're looking for me on their Facebook, Tony was Viagra. I'm on TikTok, of course. TikTok is the hot thing now. I'm on there, and TikTok's where it's at. I mean, Facebook, I guess, is kind of dying. It's like the old fart social media now. And I'm also on Instagram, and my picture's not in the post office yet. I know that. And so that's where I'm at social media. But go to YouTube, subscribe my channel, check out the videos, put it on there if you like them. And wondering that those links are going to be in our blog post for this episode. So you can also find all Tony's social medias in one spot, as I said already, and that's politicalpod.com. I'm going to put everything in there with Tony, a little bit about Tony, with definitely his bio and some other stuff if you want to find more. And as I said earlier, we'll also share some of the videos and links so people can also come and see your videos directly and your YouTube channel to make sure that definitely everybody at home can come and get a little bit of that comedy for the soul. Be in Daytona Beach. See, what's today? Today's the 12th. Let's see. I'll be there. The 14th of January. I'll be in Daytona Beach at Christy B's Comedy Club at Daytona Beach. I'll be there. January 14th. All right. So I will. With that said, I wanted to thank you so much for joining me today, Tony. And it's been a pleasure talking with you. It's been an amazing hearing this and bringing comedy to the soul, as we said. And I hope people can also still bring in the comedy to their souls every day too. Thank you so much, Juan. Great to be here. Thanks so much for listening. If you're enjoying Político, make sure to listen and follow on all podcasting platforms. If you are interested in learning more about the topic that we spoke today, follow the show notes at www.politicalpod.com. Político is an Inquisitor Media original production hosted by me, Juan Collado Díaz. If you want to learn more about the work we do on our advocacy work, make sure to follow or visit Político at www.politicalpod.com.